Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, and welcome to our channel again, One Day Ranch Chronicles. And this is just going to be a great channel where we chronicle the journey of getting this ranch and enjoying it as a family. And I know you really want to see first of all, you probably want to see Julie more than you want to see me, but you also probably want to see all the fun stuff that we're going to do. Well, shoot, we don't even own it yet. We are currently still in our option period. Today is actually the inspection of the house on the property, so fingers crossed that that goes well. We'll find out later kind of what the results are of that, we hope. Hopefully there's nothing, too crazy that needs to be fixed or needs to be done, and more negotiations with the seller, blah, blah, blah. And I know, you want to see all the fun stuff. We'll get to plenty of that. But to get to all of that, you have to go through this process, and this might be the most boring part of the process, and that's the financial aspect of it, and thinking through that. If you're considering buying, well, really a house or a second property or whatever, but I'm going to talk about it mainly in terms of buying a second property. So for most people thinking through it, the biggest thing is not to overspend. Stay within a budget, understand what your budget is, understand what you have in free cash flow to be able to do that, because you can get yourself in a world of hurt. We are not, as individuals, the federal government, where we can just spend freely and just print money. We don't have that luxury, and so we have to stay within a budget. For most people, you can think the amount of total mortgage debt that you want to have in your household is 2 times your income. So if you make $100,000 a year, you should have no more than maybe $200,000 financed on real estate, residences, I should say. You might have investment property and stuff like that. That's different. But that's just a good rule of thumb to kind of adhere to. And so even with purchasing this property, Julie and I are well within that. So that's good. That keeps it doable for us. And we looked at a lot of places that were way more expensive, maybe had all the amenities, more amenities, things that we wanted, but if the math doesn't work financially, then you can't do it no matter how much you like it. It's just part of the process. And so speaking of the process, now, all right, you found a place, you checks all the boxes, you're ready to roll, you're ready to make an offer, you're ready to make a decision. And now you have to worry about all the other stuff that goes with it. The first is securing financing, securing a mortgage on that place. You have to find a good bank, or maybe you already have a bank that you have a relationship with. Here in Texas, we deal with, for properties like this, it's very common to deal with what's called an ag bank. And so we have done that, agriculture kind of bank. And so we have done that and got all the terms of our loan and everything. Right now, we're just blessed that we're in a very low interest rate environment. Yay for us. We've decided to go with a 20-year mortgage on the property and plan on accelerating that to pay it off even faster. Once we get this house paid off in just a few years, we can really start cranking out and knocking that out. So again, just thinking through your budget on that side of it. So then you have to do a whole bunch of stuff. You got to get the house inspected if there's a house on it. You got to get the land appraised, the place appraised, because you can't get a loan for more than what the bank thinks it's worth. It's kind of that simple. And so we're doing that as well. That appraisal's in the pipeline to get done. So again, there's a lot of steps that have to fall into place. Then you're going to have closing costs on the loan. You're going to have earnest money that you have to put down. You're going to have option money that you have to give the seller, so that kind of holds there's just a lot of things, a lot of, I'll call them nickel and dime expenses that maybe you don't think about. Maybe you're just thinking about your down payment, and typically you'll have to put anywhere from 10, 15, 20% down, especially on a second property that you own because it's not your primary residence, and the banks want that. They want that safety to know that you're putting skin in the game by making a rather large down payment. And so you have to have that money available and ready to roll. So there's just so many things to think about. I guess the most surprising, what am I trying to say? The most surprising thing to me through the process is I hadn't bought a house in a while, but you got to secure homeowners insurance for it. And I'm sure I'm going to have a process to kind of get all the utilities going, and water and sewer, and well, in this case we have septic tanks. But getting somebody to come out to do the septic, you got trash, and there's so many little things. It can be overwhelming, and don't get overwhelmed. It's just, take it day by day, take it step by step. And then I'm trying to think what else through the financial aspect that's important to think about. So the financial part of it isn't just buying the place. It's buying all of the things that you want to make the place everything you want it to be. And the biggest piece of advice I can give to people about that is understand that it's a process. You probably won't be in the position to do everything you want to do right at the start. And so you have to think and prioritize what are the things that we need to do now, and what are the things that we can do later as we continue to work and make more money and be able to add things to it. To that, like for us, we have, I have a lot of toys that I want, and I'm actually going to do a whole video about that list. And we made a list and we prioritized it, and we put the cost, what we think it's going to cost, to know, all right, look, if we want this, it's going to cost this, and that's going to take away from somewhere else. So I'm going to do a whole video about that. And Julie is handling kind of all the furnishings of the house, just getting that up and running and to an acceptable point. Not perfect, right? Because there's just not enough money to do all of those things. It's a process there too. But we're going to go through that. She'll do a whole video on that, which will be probably a lot more fun. So that's kind of the gist of it. If you have questions about any of this, we're going through it. I'm learning as I go so much about all this. A big thing about this is surveys. If you have any land at all, you're going to have a survey on your normal residential house as well. But those are usually in a city or in a town, and it's pretty well-oiled machine with that. When you get out into the country, it kind of turns Wild West. And our survey was done in 2007 on this property. And luckily, blessed for me, I have a brother-in-law who is a licensed surveyor. So I sent him the survey, and hopefully you have some friends and connections that can help you look through this stuff. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to be looking for? And he told me some things and taught me how to read the survey a little bit, certainly not to his level, but at least to where I had a working knowledge of what the different things meant, what I should be looking for, to make sure the property lines that they're saying, here's your property, are the actual property lines that are on file with the county that you're looking at. And so in our case, it looked okay. There are some things that we wanted to make sure, and that it all looks okay. So you got to have a survey. All these things, if you don't have a survey, you'll have to get one, and that costs money. And that's typically on the buyer to do that. So there's just, again, that's still negotiable. Everything's negotiable. But there's just so many pieces to it. Have a checklist. Make sure you know who you need to be talking to about all those things. Okay, last thing. Wow. Can't believe I didn't do this earlier, but I'm going to do it now. We have chosen to own our property in an LLC, a family LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation. And what we are going to do is have the property owned by that. And what that does is insulates us from being personally liable on anything that might happen on the property. And it works both ways. So if something happens to me in my personal, like my normal life, so to speak, and I'm sued or whatever in my job or, whatever, the ranch is insulated because it's owned by a separate entity, and it works the other way around. If something happens, if somebody's on the ranch and they shoot their foot or something, they can't come after me personally, they can only go after the LLC. And so there is some protective to that. There are some other tax advantages. I'm not using any of those because I'm not using the property as a income property, but if you were doing a bunch of things to generate income and have expenses and all that, having the LLC also provides some tax benefits. But consult your CPA, consult your attorney to see if that is something that makes sense for you and your family. I know tons of people that own properties that own them individually, and I know a lot of people that own them in corporations like this, like an LLC. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong way. We just weighed the options and what it provided and the cost. And you know, it should cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 just to set up the LLC with an attorney, get it filed with the state that you live in, all of those things. So it's not just a whoop, all done. So man, see, there's just a lot to do. There's just a lot of plates that are spinning, things you got to juggle. And that actually is not a bad thing if you just embrace the process, enjoy the process, understand the process, and be ready for surprises. Be ready for things to come and go, oh, I guess I need to take care of that. So there you go, guys. That's all I wanted to tell you on that. If you have any questions, write them down below. Be happy to talk to you about it and do the best we can to tell you what we're going through and help you out. So thanks again for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.